Abortion is a key issue for Americans ahead of the 2024 presidential election, and White House hopeful Nikki Haley is trying to appeal to moderates while at the same time maintaining her pro-life beliefs.
She says she would have signed a 6-week national abortion ban if it was passed, which prompted President Biden's campaign to slam her as a, quote, MAGA extremist.
But some of the right claim it's Democrats who have extreme positions on the issue. How can we stop this from dividing Americans any more than they're already divided? Let's bring in 2024 presidential candidate Nikki Haley. Ms. Haley, it's great to see you, Ambassador, and thanks so much for being with us. So based on the results of the November 8th election that just happened, abortion is still very much a large issue. Voters in my home state of Virginia rejected a 15-week ban on abortion. Voters in Ohio upheld access to abortion. You said over the weekend that if South Carolinians hadn't passed a 6-week abortion ban, you would have signed it into law. You say the reasons are because if the people wanted it, that's what you would agree to. But how do you think that's going to play in these swing states where abortion access is still very much on the minds of voters?
I think people are very clear on where I am with abortion. What I've said is I don't think unelected justices should be making this decision. It should be in the hands of the states. South Carolina and Iowa and others did exactly that. They heard the people. They went more on the pro-life side. I welcome that. We've had other states that have gone more on the choice side. I wish that wasn't the case, but the people decided. And that's what this has been all about. It's about the people deciding. You know, when you talk about a federal law, though, I've made it very clear that the only way any federal law is going to pass is if we have consensus. And our focus needs to be how do we save as many babies as we can and support as many moms as we can. But we don't do it by demonizing the issue. We do it by humanizing the issue. And so, you know, we have had a good response from pro-life and pro-choice supporters because they realize we're bringing respect to a very personal issue.
Ambassador Haley, it's Sandra. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot of interest, too, on where you stand with TikTok and these social media companies, because there are some young voters out there who feel like leaders are out of touch with what young America really is doing and what they're involved in. These are some quotes we pulled from the USA Today article on TikTok's users complaining about social media, that leaders are complaining about social media and complaining about TikTok. It just lends to that image of an old man who doesn't understand anything. It does not help their chances. It does not help their public opinion. They're quoting various young people saying that leaders today just don't get it. So can you clarify your stance running for president, what you would do? Let's just start with TikTok. Are you for a ban of TikTok?
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to be honest with them. You know, you don't tell them this is what we're going to do and not explain why. The reason we want to ban TikTok, and yes, I think we need to ban it, is because it's an app that actually goes and has access to your contacts, to your financial information, to your camera, to your recorder, to everything. It's infiltration. We know that. It's also, if you look at the fact that the bin Laden letter was just put on TikTok, that he wrote a week after 9/11, and it justifies why they did what they did on 9/11. That's trying to influence young voters. I think young voters, when you tell them the truth, they will understand. There's a reason India banned TikTok. There's a reason Nepal just this past week banned TikTok, because they saw the social disruption that was happening by foreign actors. And I think we need to do that. What we want social media to do is be a force where they can have freedom of speech, but not have foreign intrusion in the process. And what we're seeing is a lot of foreign intrusion that's trying to cause distractions, divisions, and chaos in America. That's the part we're trying to stop. And so we want them to have, you know, the ability to do that. But we don't want it on dangerous apps. It's actually going to hurt them as opposed to allowing them to do what they want to do, which is communicate and get their views out.
We should also point out, Ambassador, that China doesn't allow the TikTok that we have here in America. Singapore, where Shou Chu, who's the CEO of TikTok, lives, doesn't allow it either. When we first started talking to you about the presidential campaign, it seemed like there were ages until the first contest. We're now down within 2 months. Let's take a look at the polling in the battleground states. Iowa, Donald Trump is almost 30 points ahead. You're in third place with 14.3%. New Hampshire, he's ahead by 27. You're in second place with 18.7%. South Carolina, he's ahead by 30 points. You're second with nearly 19 points. You're surging in the polls. You just had a $10 million buy going up in Iowa and New Hampshire, but still according to these polls, Governor, there is a really, really big hill to climb if you hope to overcome Trump in these early contests.
I'm not worried. And we just had hundreds of people here at our event in New Hampshire. We're doing another event in a couple of hours. We were in Iowa. We had great momentum there. We were filling rooms. You know, it's that 60-day window, John, when things start to shake out. Our numbers are going up. We're actually in second place now in Iowa, second place in New Hampshire, second place in South Carolina. Our numbers are going up. And so what I'll tell you is I trust the people on the ground, and you can feel the momentum. It's a real thing, and our numbers are going to continue to go up. So this is the 60-day window when things start to happen. And yes, we did a strong ad buy in Iowa and New Hampshire to make sure that we're touching every voter that we can, but we're going to work this until the very end. What we have said and what we continue to say is, I agree, with a lot of Trump's policies. I was proud to serve America in Trump's administration. I think he was the right president at the right time. But chaos follows Trump. Rightly or wrongly, chaos follows Trump. And we are not going to be able to fix this Democrat chaos with Republican chaos. Not when we have an economy that's in shambles and when we have wars happening throughout the world. Chaos is the last thing we need. And so I think it's time for a new generational leader. And I think we're feeling that on the ground in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. And I think that's going to start to show in the polls and lead us right into Election Day.
Could I just tie this all together back into that TikTok conversation and abortion and where things stand in the polls today? And, Democrats have been really good at using social media to get their messaging out. Republicans have sort of been anti the social media, anti-China, anti all these kind of things. But in the meantime, while you want to ban TikTok, are you being left out of the biggest conversation in the country? I heard somebody the other day say, well, it started circulating, your abortion stance started circulating on TikTok. And young viewers of that said, I didn't know that's where she stood, as a Republican. Are you leaving yourself out of one of the biggest conversations or cocktail parties in the country by not loving TikTok, but not being a part of it?
We're leading by example. It's easy. It would be easy for me to jump on TikTok. It would be easy for me to do all of these things. But I think it's also important that you tell people hard truths. I think we have to tell them of the dangers of TikTok. There are reasons other countries don't want it. But it's also the hard truths of look at the other forms of social media. I'm fighting foreign intrusion throughout our country. You look at, it's not just Chinese money going into our universities. We've got Arab money going into our universities. Why do you think you're having these pro-Hamas protests happening on college campuses? You look at all of our social media outlets. We need them showing us the algorithm so that we can see exactly what's moving and why it's moving. But look at the hundreds of thousands of foreign bots that exist on social media that is spreading misinformation and dividing our country. This is a truth that needs to be told to the American people, no matter what age they are. I think the younger generation is smart. I think they will understand this when we explain it to them. And yes, we're on social media too. We put videos out there. We're doing all those things, but we're doing on platforms that we know, that we can trust, and TikTok's one we don't trust. But at the end of the day, it's the word of mouth that's getting it. People are going out and they're going to NikkiHaley.com, they're telling 10 people, they're volunteering, they're participating. You can see it on the ground in Iowa and New Hampshire. The momentum is very real, and it's all ages. We're getting a lot of young women, we're getting veterans, we're getting farmers, we're getting, law enforcement community, and we're going to take it. But I think the reason we're getting them is because they know I tell them the hard truths. They know that I'm talking about solutions and not problems. And they know that I'm not bashing people to do it. I'm just talking about what we need to do to get America back on track.
There's an old idiom, of course, if you can't beat him, join him. Some people on your side of the campaign, Vivek Ramaswamy, is employing that. The White House thinking about getting on TikTok. We'll see how all of that goes. Ambassador, great of you to spend time with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thanks so much. Great to be with you.
All right, you too.